All right, hello and welcome to another Sunday episode. I have the alarm for 30 minutes. We'll see how it goes. I don't know, just did a jam board and did a little learning myself. There's a lot of hun and han for me too, which was funny because I had my headphones on and these guys are humming and hawing, and I was doing the same thing. Just because I found out, so even on my phone, I had to download the Jamboard app to view a Jamboard link that I sent myself. And I know it sounds a little sus, but hear me out. So with Google and keeping myself anonymous and having a public facing or a DMZ or a demilitarized zone, which people do in networks nowadays, a public facing basically account to where I could share it with everybody and not feel concerned about being at risk. And it's really hard to say that. That's why I only do it with Google, because I trust that they've invested enough time and money into their network and security and their liability too, because they've been sued. They asked me if I wanted to jump on board with a lawsuit, and I said absolutely not. Like I don't care what you. I mean, within reason. Like I did read into it and see like what happened. It was like some use of personal information, but like we give these things to Google, and then like I don't know. It's to a point. Like it needs to be a way to where it's acceptable and goes without saying. And so already talking about all that, and don't worry, there is a point to this whole episode. It's problem solving in a Jamboard. And we're doing problem solving right there too. So how do we communicate these ideas that we're trying to come up with, aside from just talking about them while playing Minecraft? Because I like to do this to organize my thoughts and figure out what I'm trying to do. But then, like, aside from going back and rewatching these videos, like, which I, do that too, but it's like, I don't know. How to be concise, how to communicate, just good communication, and what to communicate. So now that we know, if you have an Android phone, you download the Jamboard app, and then you can open the link on your phone. And then on a computer, I imagine if you're using Chrome, you should be okay, because and that's how I was doing it mostly. It's just when I wanted to like look at it on my phone, then I realized, oh, I got to get a whole app for this and everything. It's not just a browser-based service. So, but that's what it seems like in Chrome. But then again, like I'm sure whatever it's doing on my computer, like with Chrome and everything, and what Google's got installed, like they have all of it there, so it can be functional. Um, and then if they do get found out that anything is nefarious or suspicious or anything outside of a contract, and even then it gets scary, because I've heard, like, even just recently, I was talking to someone and they said they read everything, every contract, and I've just heard too many times, even one too many, or one time is too many, really. I've heard people say, "Ooh, yeah, I read the whole contract, and that's why I didn't." And it's like, wait a minute, it's really cause for concern for anybody. Be like, should I? And that's the at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that slips through. That's the idea of a Trojan horse in security. Is you got and you can learn this by watching Young Sheldon, or consuming, I think it's TBS TV or whatever. But by just being that, you're made aware of, like, oh, a computer virus, because Sheldon gets a virus on a computer game. um, it's basically, we're figuring out ways to explain and communicate these ideas and concerns too. Because while it was entertaining, it is kind of a nod to, like, security. Like, hey, this is how something happens in security, so be careful. And because everybody says be careful and do good, and these little, like, short sayings, because they don't have the time or the paper space or whatever to be like, or the fine print to be like, but to do so you should really do this and this and this. And it's still my opinion that that's what, like, the Bible was and is. Like, it's a list of to-dos, like, hey, do this and this will happen, or this will be good, and then people will be okay like this. And it's like a user guide. And not to downplay it by any means. And same with any religion. Like, it's just silly to think that an isolated group thought so differently from another group of people when we're all so very similar and the same at the core. Like, on the genetic level, you find the same things here and then here, with only subtle differences that we constantly say are important. But if we're really trying to say that those differences, wait, sorry. Then you get, like, identity is important, but yet the lack of differences, like we're all people, yet retain your identity. And see right there, that's like too wordy to say, just to like randomly pass by, but like, hey, we all have different identities, but at the same time, like, you get looked at really strangely, and yes, I do get a lot of strange looks. So, um, but it's fun. It is fun. Some of it's intentional, some of it's unintentional. Anyways, uh, problem solving. So yeah, we got about 30 minutes. We could even just go through. Well, I have it on the phone, but at the same time, let's see. Huh. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna answer it a little later, but like I don't know, just anxiety from getting different forms of communication. Let me explain without giving away any actual information. So I get a text message, I automatically think it's bad because the only people that text or bad or something that I need to concern myself with. So it's like a bit of induced friction just by getting a text message. So okay, there's that. And then you get an email. Okay, well, there's a chance that they don't see the email and then but there's less friction seeing an email because then it's like, oh, okay, respond at your leisure, like at your own time. um, yeah, like so. Yeah, sorry. I just this particular problem to solve. I don't know. It's even more awkward because the people like with the problem might see this video and then it would be awkward. So I got to speak in ways that are scalable into the sense where anybody could end up seeing this video because it is publicly shared and to where I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So again, like keeping people's identity safe for their own protection, for their own decency and all of that stuff. And that is understandable. Sorry, that's like why I take the time to explain that is because it's important. But anyways, I'll just say that different forms of communication cause different friction for different people. So, and that's that throughput idea with like different people, different backgrounds, being able to handle different. Actually, yeah. Sorry. I need to respond to this because it is like an instant thing. It's like, I can't be doing that. I'm sorry. I can't be doing that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't be doing that. There you go. I mean, just being honest, like it's not within my realm of possibilities. And like without saying too much, I just no, I can't. And that's fine. That's healthy. You got to draw like I'm sorry, without saying too much. Actually, let's just not talk about it because then I might accidentally say something. So, in the scalable sense of problem solving, that this is a recording, it's not live. And see, mind you, that's the other thing a problem I had with streaming is like, because you're live, everything you say and do, so you have to be extra careful. Now, here, if I say something really outlandish, I can go back and I can, edit the video. And I guess that's the same where like I didn't care too much about the Twitch streaming because at the end of the day, I was still saving them to YouTube, and that did introduce some glitches. So I felt bad for like the quality, and even these too. That's why I am going to try to stick to 30 minutes, when I can, and I have more concise things. But I was just having a lot of fun yesterday doing actual projects. Those could even be separated out into like Minecraft heavy musings. So yeah, they're musings, but now they're a different type or a different subcategory, whatever, to reduce the friction of people trying to view these things. I mean, you could be watching them for just like a little bit of entertainment or background noise or whatever the case may be. Whatever brought you here today, or not. I mean, these could, although it's funny because like something to be aware of if you do want to start creating your own content, you're going to constantly be like adjusting and like redoing your stuff. And I love it because I first saw it in Fighting Cowboys videos, and I only got to see the ones from FromSoft games, but he does videos for so many different categories that he was learning, and I only got to see the perspective of what he learned in, and this was, we can be specific about this. This was Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. And there was a time there when I was like, I was kind of in between jobs. I was working a job that I definitely didn't want. Like, you know, I had to drive a long ways, like all of this stuff. And then, uh, I can't, yeah, sorry. Now I'm like rethinking what I said because I wanted to give them an answer and just be direct, to just be like, no, I can't. The ask was pretty big and I understand. And like, I can probably share the problem at a later date, but like, no. Well, let's focus on, well, throughput, like texting and emails, because this was a separate situation. And I was just reminded of it because I saw a text and it's like, oh, you know, usually that, well, it's either something serious or something, because it could also be like family, because I do have family that texts because they're more comfortable or used to text over like email, or I guess I should say the layers of comfort when in communication. There you go. So if I get a PlayStation message or a Discord message, I know it's my friends. Like then I know it's like something silly, or even if it is serious, like it's not like, I don't know. I want to say like if they're like broken down in the middle of nowhere somewhere, or they probably wouldn't be texting me first of all, because both of my friends are pretty far away right now. Sorry, both. That's telling. Like I only really keep in touch with like two close friends, and then like my circles of radiating friends that radiate outwards. There's less likely a chance of, um, uh, yeah. It's just like, yeah, I just sorry, I'm not a traveler. Sorry, the ask involves some travel, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like I'm okay with travel when it's like a certain way, but yeah, anyways. Sorry. Because I'm so quick to want to try to solve problems, like, and help people. You can say it in the sense of being a good Boy Scout or being a good Christian or being a good Muslim or being good. Not saying I'm a Muslim or not saying I'm even a Christian anymore. I identify as, and see even that, like people get upset. Like you what? You start hearing that kind of talk. It's like, oh man, now he's gonna start talking about he's identifying like a toaster and like, you know, or whatever the arguments I've heard about that is. And my personal opinion is like, I'd rather not have to deal with that problem. I'd rather just be assumed that I'm okay with it, you do your thing, and I feel like everybody generally is, but unfortunately that's not the case, that any of these problems, they just come up in society, and you can't have the elephant in the room, especially with tech now. Now it's like hyper focused on the problem. So now we know like, which is good and bad, because like now we know what to fix, but we don't know how to fix it. And like, and it's also stressful for people that rely on email or text or Discord or carrier pigeon. Or that was my favorite thing that I heard in a class. I don't even know which class it was. Like, because I also took a networks class from this professor that I really liked, and I dropped it. Like I couldn't invest in a whole master's at the time, but that's what I thought I needed. And it was either get experience or get a master's or do a boot camp. So, sorry, a little background on that. But, you know, just saying, even me, like not saying I'm something special. I'm definitely not something special. These are real world situations of education, trial and error, and investing in myself, and then getting, you know, return on that investment. And I have more of a chance to even say stuff like that because I did some business classes as part of my educational degree. So, anywho, let's go mine while we talk about this. 'Cause like we definitely need some more. Actually, let's keep go mining in that new place. It's like, so now we're getting resources from our own place to distribute throughout the lands. And so seeing like, not saying England did it or England should do it still or whatever, like, you know, we know that, oops, that's our bad. I don't know what we're supposed to do about it because that was really the bad of our parents or grandparents or people that, like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, I don't have money to do this. And they kept it there. And like, and then even attacking the there, I mean, I don't know. It's important to see how we pivoted when we created America. Like, when we went from England to America, we had an opportunity to see a test, an experiment of a new government. And not even really like a new one, it's mostly the same. And even if you look at it now, like the House of Commons, the Lords, like they had different segments or parts that operated together to make government. Like they still didn't want to leave it up to just like one person. And even when it was like dictatorships, like which we still say is kind of bad, like you can't have families rule. Well, kind of yes and no, because then it's like families are meant to, like the royal families are generally meant to be, like they're trained to be leaders and rulers and the best at doing it, whether they want to or not. That's a form of a lot of our entertainment. Like, actually, let's be careful here because now we're on the. Actually, no, never mind. We're not even gonna. We're gonna reduce the friction of mining where this stuff pops up because that could be like a hole, and I think that's why I fell through. I finally did fall through, and that was that geode, that amethyst geode, way down that way. But you would know that if you sat through like all 7 or 8 hours of the video that I did yesterday. It was too much. I get it. I know. And see, nobody's even commenting or saying it. It's just like I'm already evaluating. Oh, let's see. So do I want this too high? And then, yeah. But then I don't have a floor there. See, it's either put the floor back in, which I'm going to, or mine around it, or like, but now we can do here, and then it keeps it uniform so it's predictable. So our system can interface with other systems. And so even though I don't know if I'd actually have this in more systems than this, like now that I know that this is a thing, as soon as I see that, I'd probably want to offset the whole thing. So now I'm trying to predict what I'm going to do for other areas when I'm mining. And see, that's the thing. It's like you could do a lot of planning and foresight for that. But and I'm talking like any business. Like now let's say like, oh, I want to build a mine like here because we can harvest these materials. And then, you got the ethical and moral and environmental issues and oh, see even that's not going to be good for long. So let's not go that way that much. But these are just things that, they happen. Something to consider, something now you've experienced that, you can't unexperience that. Whether you want to or not. And I don't know. It's like, and now we're going the other way. So, I don't even know. Anyways, originally I was starting this whole episode about problem solving and how excited I was to do a Jamboard video. And those are going to be really useful. I'll have those in a separate playlist. And all that to say that if you're going to be a content creator, you should segment your content into different playlists. So like I have shorts, which are, I've got some cute, cheeky, fun shorts from these Minecraft videos. And I really want to do like more of that. That's why I kind of like those bigger, longer recordings. Because even then, like I'll be watching and be like, oh, that happened or something. And I just happen to catch it on camera. But then that also leads to a lot of, it's like having a traffic cam or dash cam on in your camera when you're driving around. Like, anyways, sorry, phew. And sorry, I'm just thinking about how to solve this other problem. I'm like, yeah, I'll have to do that off camera. But the whole idea is, I mean, problem solving. Let's talk about that. So the Jamboard. So now, if you have an Android phone, um, yeah, you have to download the Jamboard app. But if you do so, then I'll open up this Jamboard thing, and then I have problem solving. There we go. So. And yeah, I just did a video showing this stuff. So you've got like, I wanted to say it like from memory, like so I can still be like doing things, being productive while processing other things and sharpening the axe, as it's called sometimes. Like you're sharpening the tool for education, for problem solving, for people, for philanthropy, like whatever you want to label it. Like my side projects, like that's why I do all this stuff. There's multiple reasons, and it's exciting. and it's fun and it's rewarding too, and it's like instantly rewarding. Like now, I mean, if I make better tools to learn programming, like Python programming, I mean, I still need to go back and fix that bug that I've just left there, where if you copy and paste the code down low in the second little code snippet area, it works just fine. But then that adds a little friction or a little insight too. So, you know, it's like those tests that you hear about. I had a boss one time tell me that he had a boss that took him out to dinner, and I would go ahead and close the phone for now. But you know, he took him out to dinner and then looked to see if he added salt to his food before he tasted it. And it's like, the moral of the story was like, if he didn't know that it needed salt, he just took a risk that could have been unnecessary and could have been avoided. And see, right there, you're judging a whole person's future on what you can see. And so, and you know, that sounds a little extreme. And granted, like when you take someone to dinner or you go out on a date, you really are interviewing them. You're trying to get to know them. You're investigating them. And so, and that's why like times change. I feel like the dating world is already changing because right now, like, you know, think dating apps versus like when I was a kid, we didn't have such things. But yeah, and then you get like a chance to like kind of get the interview out of the way as much of like reduce as much friction as possible and then try to find something for your current solution. Sorry, the dating was actually like very random, but that is interesting, like human behavior and you know something I definitely don't have a grasp on, but I've experienced a lot, so there's a wealth of wisdom there to be said. Like, and I find it funny, but it is like stressful and definitely friction causing for, um, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I just like also thinking of like since saying PTSD is too strong of a word for really a lot of situations, but the same just anxiety I tend to have or something is fair to say like I don't know because then there's so much like taboo and syntax or proper way to say just mental health stuff. So when you're trying to problem solve, um, well, that's why like hold on, let's back up a little bit. If you were trying to summarize the Big Bang Theory, it's basically how very smart people try to problem solve. That's it. How smart people try to problem solve. That's and not smart people, how sorry, people that focus on well see, there are subcategories within the cast of the Big Bang Theory. So yeah, we'll analyze some culture, some material, so some content. But yeah, like and without going too much, because I don't know how much is copyright and how much is safe. So to err on the side of caution, we can just say a general idea of the theme of the show is that it's people that are considered nerdy by our society, that were generally picked on as kids as a common trait, but not always. And then it's comparing and contrasting all of that, and then all of the quirky situations that could ensue. And so when you start defining things like that, there you got your Osmo generator from South Park. You know, I'm not Osmo and I don't, you know, no thank you. But, and then people that know about South Park know about Osmo and Butters, or no, it's Cartman. Cartman was in Osmo and it was bad. It was all bad. And the idea was, oh, it's a robot that can generate ideas. And so right there, it's like, oh, a solution to some problems. I'm a big movie executive or TV executive or whatever. Like, it's my job, it's my livelihood. And hey, here's a robot that can do it. Like, automated, like, you could automate my job. And that's why I love working in IT because, yes, you can automate things. You can make some really hard work, a lot of jobs, like, especially if you do them so many times a day if you can reduce them down to like a few button clicks, then absolutely. And then you think about like there's problem solving back in like the 70s and 80s with all the extra machinery, like thinking about like women with hair curlers and hair accessories. And I mean, not that I have a lot of experience with that, but I've seen that even if you were to try to IT troubleshoot with like the technology of past decades, which people had to do. I mean, that's what it was called. Like, hey, I got to figure this thing out. And often it was at like the drop of a hat. Um, um, yeah, at the drop of the hat, like, uh, um, Anyway, sorry. Just like trying to phrase like, and Luke Davidson has a video about this, like trying to let someone down. Like it's a kid, and it's his TikTok, and it's like this kid, like preparing in front of a mirror to ask his dad, like to go outside and play with him. And then he's like, okay, yeah, yeah, that's the one. And then once he gets it ready, he goes to ask his dad, and then he walks in on his dad practicing how to say no. He's like, I'm sorry, just not today. And then he's just like all surprised and shocked. But it's like, well, that's something to think about, like problem solving. Like, not saying that your kid's a problem and you shouldn't play catch with them. It's like, okay, well, the dad's, maybe he's stressed out, he's tired, or he's working too hard, or he has to work and the kid doesn't understand, and not that he doesn't understand, it's just like, and then you get the work-life balance, which is huge in HR and like every business. So it's a very common thing that's like, okay, now we need to solve this problem in the human aspect of the human labor piece, and without slavery, mind you, because then you get like, some of our cultural problems go back to like when we use slave labor to solve those problems. Like you're going way off morally to solve a problem that machinery does now, for a lot of it. Not saying that like, okay, it's fine, like, slavery wasn't a bad thing. It was a horrible thing. But if you understand it as a solution to a problem, then you understand, I mean, it definitely doesn't make it right. Like, like that's why I'm so glad we have instant communication and accountability. And that's another thing too, is like when people are worried about having Google all up in their lives, like I'm not worried because it also means that, if a crime happens and if like something major happens, like I'm already like, I mean, if I did the crime, then it's a bad thing. But, with my clear conscience, I have a timeline, an alibi. Like, they have my location, they have what I was doing, like, how proximity I was. Like, they have all this data that in a court of law would absolve me of, like, well, just about anything. But then you get into the sci-fi realm, the Black Mirror realm, where people are cautious because then it's like, but then they could also, like, and this is actually a very real concern of mine, is like, if someone ever found, like, child porn on a device, like, could that have been planted? Because you get the idea of like planting drugs in people, like in True Crime New York City. That guy, it was a game back for PlayStation. But anyways, like just the idea that police could plant evidence and then, oh, off to jail, like, whether it happened or not. And we have tons of movies doing that exact thing, saying that like even if a cop could do this, would they do that? And of course, someone that's in active law enforcement would be like, oh, of course not. But I've even heard stories of like a cop come in like after booking or into booking with a person and saying like, what's this pill? What's this thing? And like, and then it's like, oh, I don't know. Because then it's like a bold statement. Because so just a little backstory on that. Law enforcement clean their cars routinely because for that very reason, because they could be liable for drugs or alcohol or weapons or anything in their vehicle. And their job is to get people off the streets that might have these illegal items. And so just a little perspective with law enforcement there. And so when someone, claims like, hey, what's this pill doing in here? And then you get to the point where like, oh, I don't know. Like, and that's why I kind of like dumb it down like that, because you do know, because that wasn't there before. Or maybe the police officer missed it on their last sweep and it could have been too. So right there, there is room for error, and even on a good day, bad day, like, the officer could have issues, and these are the things that come out in court. But unfortunately, a lot of times to avoid actual trial and everything, like people will take a deal, even if they didn't do it, or even if they didn't do it like as like, or there's different circumstances, or I don't know. There's like, there's so many different ways to classify those types of problems. Oh wow, we're already full up. Oh, we want the iron. Yeah, so there's just so many ways to classify those problems. Yeah, even for the one, I'll do that. Um, so it's just important to understand this all, and that's why I have the problem solving. Sorry, it just feels like, yeah, we're at the half an hour now. Let's go ahead and cut it. I was gonna say the alarm might be going off like any minute, or I think set it for 31. But anyways, yeah, let's leave that there. Problem solving on a Sunday. Go check out the Jamboard and have a nice Sunday, everybody. I may or may not be get back on. We'll see. Oops, and I took a picture. All right. See you later, buddy. Everybody. Bye.